Did you know that there was a Fortnite item that was only available in-game for 27 minutes? I'm going over 20 Fortnite items that you forgot were even in the game. If you actually remember all 20 of these, comment down below because I highly doubt it. The Revive Grenade. Fortnite added this item that was exclusive to the Bodyguard LTM. It was an LTM where one of your squad teammates was a VIP, and if your VIP died, your entire squad would get wiped. The VIP was only allowed to carry shields and wasn't able to use any guns except for a gold revolver. And the VIP got Revive Grenades, so it works like you expect. If your teammate gets knocked, you throw the grenade at them and it instantly revives them. I definitely would like to see this item implemented, especially in zero builds. So there was this special LTM called Impossible Escape Mode, and it was kind of a very unique survival experience, something that we really haven't seen much of since then. But there was thruster, a rotor cap, tail rotor, and motor. You had to collect all these items to repair a helicopter, and that's how you escaped off the island. What was very unique about these items is they actually took up 3 inventory spots, so you really needed a team to bring them all together. So if you're an OG, you remember the quad launcher, but what about the burst quad launcher? I think this was an exotic. So it was like the old quad launcher, but it shot a burst of 2 rockets that swerved randomly, making it harder to use and pretty forgettable. But if those rockets actually landed, it was pretty devastating. This one is going to get a bunch of you guys, if not all of you guys. Did you know about the MYTHIC RAPTOR claws? It was in the Impossible Escape mode, and if you interacted with an NPC and talked with them, they'd give you a quest to find raptor claws, and in return they'd give you information on where the helicopter parts can be found. If you killed a pack of raptors, you'd get the MYTHIC raptor claws and we get the info from the NPC. The thing is, this mode was quickly removed from the game, and this quest was completely unnecessary to complete the task, and only a few people ever actually used the MYTHIC raptor claws. So Fortnite added a bunch of mythic weapons based off of the base weapon loot pool, and you can get them by upgrading your saplings, but it also included a mythic striker pump. But what's funny is Epic actually made a big mistake. Instead of having higher damage, it has less damage than the gold version, and it actually has the same damage as a purple striker pump. It can be found in creative, and eventually you'll see the mythic striker pump in game. Back in season 9 chapter 1, Epic actually added ice cream to Mega Mall. There was an ice cream shop in the mall, but the cones were kind of scattered everywhere, and they only healed for 5 health. Completely random item. I honestly forgot these existed. If that one didn't get you, this one definitely will. The Power Stones. Everyone remembers Thanos coming to Fortnite in the Avengers mode with his Thanos gauntlet, and one of the greatest days in Fortnite history. Honestly, it was the biggest update in that time period and will forever be remembered. It was still hyped to see him come back in the Avengers mode a year later. One thing though is there's no way you remember that the 6 Infinity Stones were actually in Fortnite. If you weren't playing the superheroes, you had to collect the 6 stones for Thanos to spawn in. He'd take on the heroes. So this was definitely forgettable. So if you're an OG, you might remember it. The Dual Fiend Hunters. These were pretty recent. Chapter 2, Season 8. But these have to be some of the worst items to ever come to Fortnite. No one ever really seriously picked them up, so a lot of you probably forgot them. They were so inaccurate and hard to get kills with, and they didn't even really do any damage when you landed the shots, so they were kind of left unnoticed and quickly vaulted after the season was over. Predator Claw. A lot of you remember in Fortnite Season 5, there's a lot of talk about Predator coming to Fortnite, and he finally showed up in Stealthy Stronghold. He was a pretty unique boss, going invisible and generally being hard to fight. So a lot of you probably remember the mythic that Predator dropped, which was an item that made you invisible. And honestly, it wasn't that strong because there was a long animation to it, and you could easily get seen and shot while invisible. But Predator actually used a mythic claw while he was fighting you, but it wasn't accessible to players. It was an item in the game files. It had its own stats and everything, and it was a melee with a backhanded slash. And my guess is Fortnite meant to make it an item available to players, but ran out of time or didn't really test it enough and decided not to give it out as a loot item. Fortnite Season 6 Primal Season had a lot of forgettable items, especially with makeshifts. Some of you might remember these, the makeshift revolver and primal pistol. So even just looking at these, I forgot this was in the game. No one really ever bothered using them unless it was for like a challenge video. Portal gun was in the game, not the one you're thinking of. There was a portal gun that was part of the Season 6 solo event that you had to use to seal the portals around the 0 point. It was only used in this event, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to see it in game. You guys remember this iconic Nick A30 clip of him using the portal unstable gun.
I look so sexy. Look at my butt.
And another bonus item that we only saw in an event was the 7 Scar, which was in the most recent event of Chapter 3, Season 2. And if you notice, that Scar had different accuracy and different damage and just even like recoil that the normal Scar did not have. You guys remember the bows, right? Well, what about the unstable bow? This was an exotic sold by Raven. And the thing about this bow is it actually had all the other bow effects and it changed randomly after every shot, which didn't really help make it that effective. It was an interesting item and a cool concept, but fell pretty short in being effective because whenever you needed something specific, it was always shooting whatever you didn't need. The burst pulse rifle. I forgot this one. This one was in game for 2 weeks in season 7. It's like the pulse rifle, which was pretty solid, but it shot in bursts of 2 and it was actually exotic rarity. This thing was low-key a beam, but it was kind of hard to get used to, and you had to buy it from an NPC in Coral Castle, which, I mean, I'm not going to Coral Castle. I don't care. The alien knockback gun. This is another season 7 item. The mothership gun. There was actually a revive glitch to get this gun in the normal BR. You shot out an energy pulse that knocked opponents back, and you could also use it to launch yourself. Pretty cool, but super forgettable. The combat pistols. One of the last updates of Chapter 2 was only in the game for 2 to 3 weeks. It was super weak and underwhelming. Fastest reload time in the game of like 1.2 seconds, and it had a high fire rate, but also extremely high recoil. It was decent first shot accuracy, but it was worse than the SMG and worse than the AR, so it didn't really have a place in the loot pool, but that was about it, so not a lot of people used it. Drake's map. So from just 2 seasons ago was pretty forgettable. Again, was one of the last updates of the season, and I feel like it wasn't used as much as the treasure maps from season 8 chapter 1. Not useless, but definitely forgettable. Guided missile launcher. Now I did not forget this one. This one is an OG item. I love the guided missile launcher. I hope one day it makes a return. This was over 4 years ago that it's not been in the game. A lot of people weren't even playing back then or didn't even know about this thing. If you were there, you knew how cool it was. You could self rocket ride or rocket ride your teammates and just hit some insane trick shots. Hopefully one day it makes a return. Hunter's cloak. So you could craft this using a sting sack and a piece of meat, and you could use it to easily tame animals. You never found it in chests, and the only way you can get it was to craft it. It was kind of useless, honestly, because taming animals was not that important. And nowadays, you can just tame an animal by jumping on top of them, so I would never see this return. Kind of forgettable. Transcendent items. So before the final item, I wanted to give you guys a throwback to the transcendent items. As you know, there's gray, green, blue, purple, gold, and mythic items, and exotic items. This tier of items is even rarer and is one of the least known things in Fortnite. This is the rarity developers use to test guns before they go live. These items were like the gnome gun or the one-shot gun that Epic used to test POIs and test different weapons. These will probably never come to the game on purpose, but it would be pretty cool to see this rarity eventually come to Fortnite. Eye of the Storm Tracker. This item was only in the game for 27 minutes. It had the wrong icon in your inventory. When you equipped it, it changed to your back bling, and it would let you see a line on your minimap of where the next zone is going to be. This would be a very interesting item as a mythic or exotic or something kind of rare in current game, but they obviously weren't ready to release it, so they removed it. And if you haven't noticed, I'm rocking Metal Umbrella right now. This is my clothing brand. This is actually the new collection. It's not released yet, but it's coming out very soon. But you can check out the first 3 collections at metalumbrella.com. If you end up getting anything, let me know on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll definitely respond.